The Feast of St. Joseph the Worker, May 1st, 2025. Work with dignity, live with purpose. Dear brothers and sisters, today we celebrate a unique and powerful convergence of two great observances, the Feast of St. Joseph the Worker and the International Workers' Day. Let me begin with an anecdote. There is a story of a young seminarian who once asked an old priest, "Why do we never hear Joseph speaking in the Bible?" The priest replied, "Because he let his hands speak." Indeed, my dear friends, Saint Joseph preached not with words, but with faithful labor of his hands. Let us ask ourselves, do we value the labor of our hands and of those who work silently around us, our farmers, masons, sweepers, domestic workers, and so on? International Workers' Day, also called as Labor Day, originated from the workers' struggle for the fair labor laws, particularly the 8-hour working day. It is marked globally by rallies and advocacy for workers' rights and social justice. In response to rising secular and often Marxist labor movements, Pope Pius XII in 1955 instituted May 1st as a feast of St. Joseph the Worker. And this was the Church's way to highlight the dignity, respect, and justice of human labor. To present St. Joseph, the humble carpenter of Nazareth, as a Christian model for workers. To encourage a spiritual perspective on works as cooperation in God's creative plan. We often think of saints as preachers, martyrs, or miracle workers. But Saint Joseph was none of theirs. He never preached, he never wrote a gospel. His holiness lay in his silence, his hard work, and his faithfulness, integrity, and diligence. He was a carpenter, a daily wage worker, toiling with his hands to feed the Holy Family. Yet God chose him to be the guardian of Jesus and Mary. What an honor! As late Pope Francis said, Saint Joseph is the man who goes unnoticed, a daily, discreet, and hidden presence, yet an intercessor, a support, and a guide. Saint Joseph, my dear friends, teaches us that no work is too small or unimportant when done with love and integrity. Work is not just a way to earn money. It is a divine calling. In Genesis 2:15 we find God placed Adam in the garden to work and to take care of it. That means work is part of God's plan, not a punishment, but a participation in His creation. Whether we are a farmer, mason, driver, teacher, cleaner, nurse, or student, your work has dignity because through it you reflect God the Creator, you serve the others, and you build the society. Let me tell you a short story again. One day a man passed by a construction site. He asked three workers, "What are you doing?" The first replied, "I am cutting stones." The second replied, "I am earning my living." And the third smiled and said, I am building a cathedral for God. My dear friends, the same job, three different attitudes. Like St. Joseph, we are invited to see our work as a gift to God and to others. While we speak of the dignity of labor, we must also acknowledge the suffering of workers, especially in our country. In India, over 90% of workers are in informal work or labor without job security or benefits. Migrant laborers, construction workers, farmers, women, and children often work in extreme heat, long hours with no medical care or insurance. During the COVID lockdown, we saw lakhs of workers walking back home hungry and abandoned. One migrant worker said, "We are not beggars, we just want to work with dignity." My dear friends, as Christians, we cannot remain silent. The gospel compels us to stand with the oppressed. According to Catholic social teaching and the Indian Constitution, every worker has the right to fair wages, enough for a family to live in dignity, the right to rest and live, the right to safe working conditions, the right to form unions, the right to equal pay for the equal work regardless of gender and caste. But with rights come duties too. To work with honesty, diligent, ethical, and responsibility, to reject corruption, laziness, theft, laziness again to violence and exploitation, to seek the common good and not just personal gain, to respect fellow workers and employers, to see work as a gift from God, not as a burden. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work with all your heart as if working for the Lord." Today's feast is not only for those who work with their hands, it is for all of us. As a priest, as a religious, as a teachers, as a farmers, as a business people, and also as a students. We are called to pray for those who labor silently, often in poverty and pain. We are called to respect every worker no matter their status, say thank you, be it a sweeper, rickshaw puller, gardener, housemaids, or street vendors, etc. We are called to support fair wages and ethical labor policies. We are called to create employment and opportunities for the poor in our missions and parishes. We are to call we are called to educate and empower the youth with skill training, dignity of labors, and self-reliance. We are called to be ethical employers. If we have people, let us pay them fair and treat them with humanity. We are called to sanctify our work, offer every task to God, even the smallest. As Pope John Paul II said, work is a key to the social question. It is the human person's participation in God's creative work. Finally, let us build the world with our hands and our heart. St. Joseph the Worker and Labor Day, we see a unified vision. Work is not just an economic activity but a sacred vocation. It is a human right, a social duty, and a path to holiness. St. Joseph inspires us to build a world where all workers are respected, justly treated, and empowered. On this day, let us walk in the footsteps of St. Joseph, silent but strong, humble but holy, laboring not just for money but for meaning, and always for the glory of God. St. Joseph did not change the world with his speeches but with his chisel, saw, sweat, and faith. He shows us that every home, workshop, classroom, and field we can be co creators with God. Let's therefore not only celebrate work, let us restore the dignity of workers. Let us conclude by entrusting all workers, especially the poor and the forgotten, to Saint Joseph. Praying, Saint Joseph, protector of workers, intercede for those who labor in fields, factories, homes, and streets. Bless their hands, strengthen their hearts. Let their work be a path to holiness. A work is love made visible, Khalil Gibran says. Therefore, let our work be just that, a visible sign of love. Amen.